Welcome back to the Maximum Lawyer Podcast. I'm Tyson Mutrux. Jim is not doing anything again. He's still on assignment. I'm here with Pete Salsich. Now, am I saying it right again? Because I always practice this. It's not Salsich, it's Salsich. And for years, and so those of you that don't know why I've struggled with it is because I was taught by Pete's dad at SLU. And for years, I thought it was Salsich. I told everyone it was Salsich. Yeah. And then finally, I met Pete, and Pete tells me, no, it's Salsich. So
we like to make it confusing. We got that CH with a hard CK sound. Apparently, there's some part of the Slavic world where that's like a thing, but we couldn't really tell you exactly where.
Man, well, mine's Mutrix, and it's some people say Mutro, some people say Mutrix. It's
right.
I completely get it, but I've got to figure something out really quick. I got to sort this out. Jim says he came up with, for you, the screen lawyer. Is this true?
It is true. I've got to give Jim Hacking all the credit in the world. Jim and I, over the years, have had lots of interesting conversations. And about 3 or 4 years ago, when I was coming out of my in-house practice, where I was working with the Cool Fire companies and I was doing all of the creative work, but really just for family of companies, and going back out into private practice for the first time, really with this new practice. I wanted to do the same thing I was doing for Cool Fire for other clients, but I'd never marketed that in any way. So I was having a conversation with Jim. You could probably picture this, Tyson. And he's like, so what do you do? And I'm like, well, I do blah, blah, blah. He goes, no. What do you do? And I went off on another rant. He stopped me again. He said, what do you do? And I said, well, Cool Fire used to have a saying, we make things for screens. And I did every one of those contracts. I did every one of those right structures. And he said, screen lawyer. So we immediately looked. The URL was available, and nobody had claimed it on social media. So it came from. And it took me about a year to start doing something with it. But that's where the name came from. And so I, got to give Jim the credit where credit is due.
I love it. I love your content too. You've got some really good content. You present well on the video, and even your setup right now looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Let's talk about what your topic is, and I've got to pull this up. I told you I've got to read this because it doesn't roll off the tip of your tongue. But this is also something that Jim came up with.
Exactly. So if people like it, well, we'll give Jim credit. But if people think what, then that's also Jim's fault. Exactly.
Now let's give you the credit if it's good. If it's bad,
fair enough.
But here's the topic. I think it's freaking awesome. Actually, we were cracking up whenever you came up with it. What all you fools need to know about the content you're creating. So it's funny. So on these other conversations I've had with speakers, I've asked, where'd this topic come from? But for you, which it's something that he came up with. But do you want to talk a little bit about what you're going to talk about?
Yeah, and really, I think it was Jim was essentially, I think, pretty much encapsulating what I regularly talk about, which is when you are creating content, and that could be you, it could be a room full of lawyers who we're all now creating content, right? We're being told by our marketing professionals, by those who want to engage, help us grow our businesses. We create content like any other business does now. So that content is written. It can be blogs, it's social media posts, it can be videos, it could be something like what we're doing right now, podcasts, all sorts of content. But what a lot of people don't really stop and take the time to figure out is that all of this content is governed by copyright law. So now we can do it in all these ways that we didn't used to be able to do. We have these amazing, our iPhones and Android phones and all this technology that literally can make us fairly high-end producers pretty quickly. But copyright law still applies. So when you get into questions about, well, who owns this content? Who can I sell it? Can I recreate it for somebody else? Can I use somebody else's stuff? Can I talk about somebody else's content? Can I use a photograph? What about music? All of these things that go into creating some kind of a content all are governed by copyright law at the base, and then a variety of contracts typically. And if you don't put those things in writing, if you don't establish what you want to do or what someone else can do with your stuff, you run some pretty serious risks that first, your content may be taken down. Second, you may be sued for infringement. Or three, you may just simply lose control of it altogether and it ends up having a meaning you never intended. So I spend a lot of time just generally advising clients about that. A lot of my videos that I do are on issues kind of in and around that. So it seems like a great idea to tell all of these lawyers who are all going to be great content creators. They're all writing books because John Fisher challenged them to. I mean, everybody's creating content. All of them need to know that this is what happens with that content and what you need to do about it to protect it. And so that's the point.
I love it. That's, it's funny. Like, I don't have to ask you a bunch of my questions because you just, it's a lot. Like, here's how much we trust Pete. Pete is our lawyer. So he's our lawyer. So we trust what he's going to say. Well, then let's do this. Let me ask you this question.
Sure.
Since you did such a good job of explaining what you're going to talk about. What are you so excited about when it comes to the conference?
Oh, listen, I 2 years ago when it was at Del Mar Hall, it was the first time I had attended. I wasn't there the first year. And I was just blown away by the collection of people, by the talent, by the energy. And really that got me into my screen lawyer persona coming out of that. And I said to myself, and I think I probably said to you and Jim, I want to be on that stage next year. I don't know what I'm going to say yet, but I want to be part of that community because I could just tell how vibrant it had become at that time. And then, the last 2 years really interacting with the Facebook group and just Legal Minds and other actions and people that I've met, it's just grown even more. So to me, I'm really excited about seeing some people that I feel like I've gotten to know pretty well by staring at them through screens. I'm interested in meeting them, I'm interested in being in person with people again. And I'm interested in seeing what else I can learn. So yeah, I'm pretty much all of it.
I love it. Well, before I get to my last question, talk a little bit about, you got to play Del Mar Hall. Talk about that.
So, yeah. So, one of my, if I could actually make a living playing music, I wouldn't be doing any of this lawyer stuff, but I can't. And I know that. So, but I get a lot of enjoyment out of playing music. I've got a classic rock band, cover band that I play in called 81. And so 2 years ago at the conference, because you guys had Del Mar Hall, which for those who don't know, Del Mar Hall is a great concert venue in St. Louis, holds about 600-700 people in the room. My band isn't filling Del Mar Hall and typically getting to play at that sort of thing. But because you had the stage the night of the conference, we got to play and it was awesome. But there are two great things I'll remember. One, the sound was incredible because we had the sound guy on the side, the big sound person out there. I mean, it was like a super pro setup. But the other thing I remember is that almost all the lawyers who were in attendance were out of the concert hall, out in the bar where they were all hanging out and talking. Now, the music was piped out there so they could hear, and occasionally they would walk their head. And then Jim came in and caught one song and kind of did this and stuff. But we didn't care because we were playing Del Mar Hall, and it sounded so awesome. And we got great pictures, and we look like rock stars. So, we're pretty easy to please when it comes to playing music at a place like Del Mar Hall.
Yeah, I remember you talking about, I got to play Del Mar Hall. It was cool. Like, yeah, it did kind of suck because like the way the hall was set up, everyone was out in the bar area.
Yeah, right, but it was okay. I mean, we really didn't care. We had a blast.
I love it. All right, so I'm over time, but before we wrap up, tell people how they can get in touch with you if they need the Screen Lawyer services.
You can find me anywhere on social as The Screen Lawyer, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Clubhouse, always the Screen Lawyer. If you go to thescreenlawyer.com, that will take you straight to my law firm bio page at Capes Sokol, and you can see all my information about my practice and how to get in touch.
Excellent. Love it. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate it, buddy.
Tyson, thank you, man. I can't wait for the conference.
Me too, man.
See you, brother.